Welcome back to Hoop City with Paul Sir. Josh Fenwick here today. We're pleased to welcome into the studio. Oh, and before we welcome Steve into the studio, Josh, can we do a poll update?
Yeah, absolutely. The Hoop City poll. Currently, the leader is 76 wins, leading by a very, very wide margin. Everyone thinks the OKC Thunder will have at least 76 wins this season, or I would say more than 73.
You know what? It's interesting. It's interesting, Josh, because I think on one hand you can say we're drinking the Thunder Kool-Aid, but what reason have they given us not to buy into that concept when you have someone of Steve Kerr's stature, along with all of the other clarion voices out there saying this is potentially one of the great all-time teams and has a real shot at it. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Steve Sir into the studio. Steve, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Let's ask you, can the Thunder break the all-time record of 73 this year?
It seems to start that they have an awfully good shot. There was something in the media that the team, and Shea said it, but that it was important to them that they were going to try and pursue it. So it's always interesting for teams in the NBA of what's going to keep them interested during the lulls in the season, when it's the famed right after the All-Star break where it seems like everybody mails it in until the end. Can they stay motivated? The ultimate thing will always be, can they stay healthy? It's such a long season, the way that the season is structured of road games, how many games they might have to put together when they're playing on a long stretch. Can everybody's bodies hold up? But if they do, it seems like on paper they'll have a great chance to get it done.
Very accurate. A couple of thoughts I had. I remember when the Lakers with Magic Johnson were going for the three-peat. Pat Riley rode the Lakers in year 3 at an unprecedented level to push them through the season. And the pressure that they felt, they just hated Riley for it. That's very different from the Thunder. They're young, they're exuberant. This is all new. It's on the heels of their championship. I mean, Gilgeous-Alexander at 26 is one of the vets. Of course, there's Caruso. But that youthful exuberance, along with their skill sets, it does give them a motivation. And plus, if the trend continues, they're not playing Gilgeous-Alexander 42 minutes a game to reach this. Like Golden State had to play their big three a ton to break the 73. Mm-hmm. So far, that hasn't been the case for the Thunder. They could do this if this all continues without the kind of wear and tear over a whole regular season like other teams might have to do to try to reach this goal.
It'll make the season interesting. For a team that seems to be far out ahead of everybody else, it'll also be interesting to see how it affects the approaches of the other teams. Are they going to really try and chase the Thunder? Are they going to just play to what they need to play to, or are some teams going to mail it in with resting players, trading guys, or just getting ready for the draft? All the word is that this draft is going to be one of the best ones that they've had in a while. It'll be interesting to see how that trickles down through the rest of the league on what teams decide to do and what approach they choose to take.
Absolutely. We'll talk a little bit more in our second part of the deep dive today, but let's talk about 3x3. Steve, you made the transition in 2016 from 5-on-5 to 3x3 and have been Canada's top-ranked player for a good part of your career in 3x3. You've transitioned from playing to playing and coaching. Now I would say reversing that into coaching and playing in 3x3. You have a very unique set of circumstances in that you're the national team coach for the country of Mongolia. And of course, Mongolia is never affiliated with the basketball world, but certainly is on the 3x3 basketball world's map. Talk about the year in Mongolia and the marvelous accomplishment of your women this past season.
It's been 4 years of great relationships and trying to build and push towards maybe not a clearly defined outcome, but an outcome of growth and improvement and driving basketball forward. Because you're right, Mongolia hasn't been a country that has been associated with any basketball powerhouses or long-standing basketball traditions. But they've taken the approach of there's no better time to start than now, of really trying to make an effort to bring 3x3 events to the country, bring 5-on-5 events to the country, bring foreign coaches, bring foreign players. After COVID, I was one of 2 foreigners that were in the country for basketball. The 5-on-5 national coach is from Greece, and he was coaching a 5-on-5 club in Mongolia before he became the 5-on-5 men's national team coach. And I wouldn't say it was because of us, but it did start to open doors of voices and personalities and know-how coming from other areas of the world into Mongolia, and how once you start that process, you can't undo it. It starts to change things. It's been really exciting to be a part of that change, of bringing ideas and lessons that you've learned from your upbringing as a basketball player, of the coaches that I've learned from and been fortunate enough to take a lot away from, and put that into practice in a country like Mongolia, where there's an eagerness and there's an anxious feeling of we want to get better, but we need to be pointed in a direction, and then we'll chase that together. This past season was a culmination of a lot of hard work, in particular on the women's side. Our girls have grown by leaps and bounds over the last 2 years. When I first got there, if you would have called us bad, I would have been happy. We were really bad, and it was we just couldn't win a game, and that started to shift a little bit. Part of that was us redefining what we wanted the program to look like, and breaking it down to the most basic levels of how do we want to close out on the perimeter when the ball gets passed. How do we want to come to a jump stop and make a pass? It was that kind of stuff where we had to whittle it down and really get back to the basics. Where we were fortunate is we had 2 personalities on our team that were completely invested in believing in that, and that's Ariane Senseg, Aruka, and she's been probably the player that I think has improved the most in our country, in Mongolia. And then Hulan Anobatar, who's been the face of the women's team, and she was part of the all-tournament team at the World Cup that we hosted this past year in Mongolia. It goes to show when you have 2 players that are competitive and love the game and want to do these things, how it sets the tone for the other players to follow. So I've been fortunate as a coach on that side to have the good fortune of working with women like that will run through the wall if you tell them to run through the wall. That came out this year in our result in World Cup, where we entered the tournament. We were hosting in Mongolia. It was a big deal. There was obviously a lot of pressure on the players that this was playing at home. This is playing in front of our friends and family and the people we love, and a chance to showcase our hard work. That can be good. That can be bad, because it definitely weighted on their minds. But one of the messages that we wanted to keep consistent for them was we're not just hosting. We're competing, and we're going to show these countries the hard work that we've been putting in the gym, away from cameras, away from pats on the back, away from all the stuff that is done in certain circles of basketball where you're feeling that feedback immediately of we're getting better. We didn't know how much better we were getting. We were just in the gym working. And once the World Cup started, you could see the girls go, okay, we are ready for this. We are ready to compete, and we're ready to throw punches with the best countries in the world. We beat Brazil, who was recently a bronze medalist at the Americup. We beat Germany, who was the gold medalist at the Paris Olympics. We beat Ukraine, who was much bigger and stronger than we were. We gave a good game to Spain, who was the silver medalist at the Olympics in Paris. And then we moved on to our knockout rounds, where we beat China, which was a big deal in Mongolia, obviously, given the relationship. We beat the United States, which doesn't really need to be expanded on any further, given what a heavyweight they are. And then we beat Poland in the semifinal in an extremely dramatic game. And
one of the great games that you'll ever see.
Yeah, to go to overtime, to have all these close finishes, near finishes, and then Aruka, who's worked endlessly on the shot that she hit, of just getting to the screen, pushing away, getting your feet, knocking it down, and for her to have that moment in front of her fans, like, it still gives me goosebumps. And then we got to the final, and we played a terrific Netherlands team, and they beat us. Not much you could say about that, because the Netherlands, for my money, were the best women's team pound for pound this season in 3x3. But for us to go from 2 years ago winning one game on the women's series, and it was not a pretty game, to 2 years later being a silver medalist at the World Cup and to be taken seriously by every women's team on the tour is a testament to the women we have on the team, to their commitment to improvement and growth and their fire to pursue something. And then also to the leadership, I think, on the Mongolian side, with the people that I answer to and some of and we answer to, that have kept pushing and believing even when things were tough. So it's hard not to think about it and get fired up of what they accomplished. It's also hard not to look at it and think, like, did we actually do this? But being in the gym with them and seeing the stuff that was done from day to day and how the women believed in it, there was no greater feeling as someone who's been with them on the sideline, seeing this actually play out in real time.
It is one of those feel-good stories that just happens occasionally in sport, that you were instrumental in putting the ingredients together for the players to be able to accomplish what they accomplished. So, yeah, what a great step forward for that program, and kudos to you.
Thanks.
You recently played for Canada in the AmeriCup down in León, Mexico. Fourth place finish for the men. Big disappointment. I realize you were bronze medalist last year. Second place, silver medal for the women. Overall, how was Canada's performance in the AmeriCup?
I thought the women did very well. They were integrating two new players. They had Catherine Plouffe and Paige Crozon as the veterans. Two perfect personalities and players to be in a position to help integrate two new young players into 3x3. You can play 3-on-3, you can watch 3-on-3, but then you get in a real game and it's completely different. You're outside, you're on a different surface. It might be windy for those 20 minutes that you play. There's all these curveballs that get thrown at you. So to have Catherine and Paige be the steady hands for the program, playing in a tournament where half your team is new, was the right idea. They bumped up against a really strong American team. They gave them a good fight. There was a really questionable call at the end on Paige that played a role in the outcome, but I thought they put a great foot forward. It showed that there's good things in the works for the continued development of the women's program and integrating new skill sets and new personalities into the team. So obviously for them, now that the Olympic point gathering is starting,
it's a complete start over, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, as in other sports, whether it's soccer, whatever, you've got rankings and points and results, all of those things. But FIBA 3x3 for years and years, it's an accumulation and a carryover and all of the regulations. But this is like a fresh start for the 2028 LA Olympics, correct?
Correct. So what FIBA, and this was just announced 2 days ago officially, what FIBA has determined is it's going to be a 2-year window of point collection to determine rankings and possible automatic qualifications to Los Angeles Olympics in 2028. So that begins now. There's no tournaments now, but once the AmeriCup and the Africa Cup had ended, the official point gathering for LA starts. So it seems like LA is a long ways off. It's going to get here in a blink. These next 2 years are going to be extremely important for anyone that has ambition to be competing in LA. And it forces the hand of countries and players to be invested over these next 2 years. You're not going to be able to just show up the year before and play a ton, and you're going to have to give a year and a year. And then you have the Olympic year. So on paper, I like it. It's going to be good for the sport. It's going to make it competitive in the lead up to LA in a way that the sport hasn't seen that level of competition up to this point. I think when you look at it from the Canadian women's perspective, they're positioned extremely well. The Americans are already qualified to LA, men and women. So there's going to be one automatic slot for the Americas that goes directly to LA. And for my money, I don't know at this point who can challenge the Canadian women in the Americas, and that's great because it sets the pace of they're going to be the ones playing over the next 2 years to decide their fate, and if you're smart, they're the ones to bet on. On the men's side, for AmeriCup, to circle back to what we were talking about, we showed a lot of good things. We had good training in the lead up to the tournament. Had a wild game with Trinidad and Tobago. Those are always some of the hardest games to prepare for in 3x3, where you're playing against players that don't have a lot of experience in the sport. That can be good, that can be bad, because they're coming in and they're just playing, and they're just, kind of nothing to lose, just having fun. And that was a little bit of a game that you couldn't quite get a pulse on. Then we moved into playing Argentina. Easier because it's more physical. They have some experience. They're younger. They're hungry. And luckily we gave them a good whooping and sent them out, and moved into the quarterfinals, played Mexico, almost a mirror situation from the year before. We played Mexico in the quarterfinals in Puerto Rico, this being different, playing in Mexico. It was a really hard-fought game. Referees seemed to nudge it a little bit towards the home team, if we're being honest.
A little bit of home cooking.
Yeah, a little bit. So that added to the intrigue a little bit, but luckily we were able to pull it out. We got to the Puerto Rico game, very similar to as it was the year before, neck and neck the whole game. We have a great look at the end. Jerome Derossier, one of our guys, had a good look at it too. It was in the bucket, and you live with that because he had a fantastic tournament. And you in 3x3 you always live with, you got a wide open shot, a good shooter shooting it. Sometimes it's going to go in, sometimes it's not. So I had no qualms with how that game ended. We were in a position where we were an inch from going to overtime. The Brazil bronze medal game was a tough one. To lose a medal game for when it's for your country it hurts in a different way. I felt like we just kind of ran out of gas. We needed to keep the pace of the game high because a slower pace favored Brazil and their type of player. So that was tough. But I think, when you've had a chance to reflect and evaluate what was happening, you have to try and frame it as, losses hurt. I've never subscribed to the idea of well, there aren't losses, there's just learning. And it's no, there are losses, and it really hurts when there's losses. So that's usually coming from people who haven't lost meaningful games. It really stung everybody, but you do have to frame it as it's adversity. And if you're going to cry about it, cool, no one's going to care. You're going to have to get back in the gym. You're going to have to get on with it, and you're going to have to keep believing that the next time you're in that game, you can get it done. And I think the debrief we had as a group, everybody believed that, as ticked off as they were. And I'm hopeful that soon we'll get a chance to get back out there and have a chance to play a game like that or that exact game again, because I'd like to believe the outcome will be different. But to play with Canada on your chest is the highest privilege and the most meaningful thing you can do. Your country on your chest and your name on your back is as good as it gets. I've said it a lot of times, it's the mountaintop. So to be able to do that, I remember being 15 and dreaming of that, and I still remember that. I'm 43 now, and it never stops being meaningful. So even though it hurts when you lose, you still have to walk away from it and think I dreamed of being in games like this, and the next time we play one, I'm going to remember how much it hurts and do better.
It was while it was a stinging end to the season, it was still a great effort on the part and a step forward for Canada on the men's side as well. We're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to continue with the deep dive here on Hoop City with Paul Sir on your sports leader, Sports 1440. Welcome back, Hoop City. Paul Sir, Josh Fenwick, joined by Steve Sir for the deep dive. We're going to change directions right now. Steve, last week I thought, I really haven't checked for quite some time on how many Albertans are playing south of the border, because I was recalling back when you were in high school what we had to try to do to get Albertan players noticed down in the U.S. to even get consideration, because at that time there were very few Canadians south of the border. Of course, there were still a few from the Toronto area, but not the hundreds that we have from across the country that are playing right now. But there were so many efforts that you had to go through. But now with the addition of prep schools, all the opportunities kids have to play, kids have the opportunity to get noticed more. Canadians are more in demand down in the States, obviously with the success of players like SGA, et cetera, at the Division I level and certainly at the NBA level. But I was surprised, and this information comes from our friend Brian Swain, one of the great basketball minds who sees the details pretty much unlike anybody else in the province. And Brian, on the Alberta basketball website, and go to abbasketball.ca if you want to see Brian's statistics on players playing Division I right now. To my surprise, 17 boys, 13 girls from Alberta playing Division I right now. And, all have their own story, all have their own journey. Some are making major impacts. Some are just in that growth phase, certainly. But when you played on the great high school team at Ross Shep with Jermaine Buckner. You and Jermaine both played Division I basketball, but there were very few Albertans at that time. Colleen Ukes from McNally was going. I forget the young lady's name that also was on the gold medal winning team at Nationals who went to Cal Poly, I think.
Katie Patterson.
Katie Patterson goes to Cal Poly. I think that was it at the time, playing down in Division I. Now you've got much bigger numbers. And this has accelerated really over the last 3 or 4 years. What's your impression of this? What's happening that has made this change possible for so many Albertans to be competing in Division I programs?
It's a completely different landscape now with how recruiting is handled, the ability to get information out to coaches at the snap of a finger. Back then you had to you had to be the one that was driving it forward if they weren't figuring out a way to come to your doorstep.
I was putting in padded envelopes VHS tapes and mailing them out to coaches and then following up with their athletic departments on your behalf.
And waiting weeks to possibly get a response.
Absolutely, if you ever did.
Yep. And that was, I mean, it makes it sound like the Stone Ages from 20, 25 years ago.
It was the Flintstones.
But when you compare it to now, it was, because you're sending out VHS cassettes, like you said, in bubble-wrapped envelopes, and then, sending a follow-up email. And most of those coaches, I think at that point, didn't really know what email was. It wasn't really a thing. Everything was still handled either visually, you're going to games and you're talking to recruits, or you're doing handwritten letters. And there was a changing that was happening, but it was a slow changing because there was still the belief that Canadians were not cut out to play in the States, outside of some guys that were out in Toronto that I think were easier for United States coaches to look at and say, like, well, yeah, those guys playing, the Raptors are there and there's more of a culture. But when you started to branch out and go across Canada, there weren't the things that coaches often in the States look at of, what do I know about this guy or this area that I've already experienced down here? Steve Nash had played Division I. That changed everything, but it didn't result in it changing the amount of schools in the States that were recruiting Canadians. They knew that smaller point guard, 6'1" point guard would be a guy they'd be interested in. And there were guys that benefited from that. Jordy McTavish, Kyle Wilson, they went down to the States because they were guys from BC that resembled Nash. But other things had to change in order for other positions and guys who played other spots in order to be recruited. So to circle it back to now, I think if you had gone back then, myself and Jermaine Buckner went to the States, I think there probably would have been more people during that era that would have at least got a lot more looks.
Absolutely.
And I think now you can see how it's changed, because most of these kids that maybe 20 years ago would have had to really push to get college programs interested are now the ones that are getting seen. There's more tournaments that are available to coaches. International recruiting could be something that really helps a program get over the hump of stealing a kid from a European country, stealing a kid from up north in Canada that coaches have been slow to identify. I think it's a sign of the times that basketball is more than it was even 20 years ago, a very global game. And there's not as much stigma surrounding players of, well, if they play there, then it means that they're this or that. If they play there, it's because they live there. And now if you're going to these programs in these other countries, you can show your stuff. And if it doesn't work, we've seen it a million times, they'll let you go. You'll move on. Transferring is a extremely common thing at this point in college sports. Back then it wasn't. If you were transferring, it was because you were either seen as someone that couldn't cut it or you were a problem child. And now if you're transferring, it's a business transaction. It's a better opportunity for me and my family. So I think because of that, coaches can possibly swing at the fences a little bit more of, can we get this kid from Canada who's maybe a little bit of an unknown, but could have a big upside, and let's get him in here and let's see if he can play.
And in the case of players in programs down in the States, a couple really jump out at me. On the guy's side, Elias Ralph from Okotoks at Pacific, he's having a heck of a year. Mm-hmm. And Delaney Gibb, who's very, very familiar to all Albertans, she continues to have great success at BYU. But when you go down through the list of players, you can see there's an adaptation. And we were talking off air about the importance for players to understand when they get into the Division I world. Even though the world has changed, the basketball realities are still the same. And that is, you're going to have to show up, you're going to have to work hard, and you're going to have to earn your place in the lineup. And sometimes that does not happen overnight. And so what would your observation be about an advice, let's put it that way, your advice to the young Albertans who are aspiring certainly to go Division I, but those that are playing Division I, if right now they're not getting the results that they think they were going to get when they went south?
The number one thing would be, what I would tell anybody is the most important quality in order to stick in the game is persist. You have to persist through difficult times. You're going to have to persist through, I'm not getting minutes, I'm not getting touches. There's these things that are happening that is not allowing me to do these things. That's fine. You're in the category that almost every player except the very select 1 or 2% have to go through when they go to college basketball, is you're going to have to persist and you're going to have to earn it in a way that you probably didn't imagine it was going to have to be. I ended up being, an all-conference player at NAU. I averaged double figures. I scored 1,000 points in my career, and multiple times I wanted to quit because it was really frustrating where you have a couple weeks where you are just playing great, and then all of a sudden you play 6 minutes and you don't touch the ball once, and someone's screaming at you for a closeout that you thought you did right, and you're sitting on the bench and you're like, man, I don't get it. Why am I not getting consistency? And this is what you realize when you get to that level is everyone is coming from their worlds and they were the best player. They had the ball the most. They were being told they were this, that, and the other thing. And it's just a matter of time when they get to college that they're going to be exactly what they were in high school. That takes an adjustment physically and mentally of, I'm not touching the ball as much. Well, how do I assert myself, or how do I become that personality and player in this much, much more competitive environment? What happens if they recruit over me? Because there's this great player that's all of a sudden available, or there's, given the current landscape now, there's this transfer that just wants to come here. How does that affect me? What do I do if there's some guy that shows up from Arkansas who was averaging 13 points a game and just wants to play at my school? Are my minutes going to get cut in half? But that's not a new thing. When I was playing at San Diego State, I was a two-guard. We were recruiting LA all the time. And a kid named Brandon Heath was signed, and he was coming from Westchester, and he was LA Player of the Year, and he was going to be on my spot. It's pretty cutthroat. So I would say for anybody that wants to know what's this going to be like, it's going to be really tough. And whatever you get, you're going to have to earn and then some. So I would always tell any young player that's going to go, swim in the ocean, like this goes from the fishbowl from the pond, like this is the ocean, and the sharks and the whales are huge. So you got to get out there, and if you don't persist, they're just going to run you over, and you're going to have to really push yourself physically and mentally to endure and to commit to the idea that, like, if I want to do this, I got to be in the gym, I got to be in the weight room, and then you got to do the stuff that anybody will tell you once you're persisting through it of what you need to do in order to succeed. If you're not willing to do the things that other people can or won't, then you're just going to probably fall into the pack. You have to figure out ways to separate yourselves, even from your teammates. And once you do that, coaches take notice. The consistency of it, of putting days, weeks, months together of like, man, they're in here no matter what. They're asking a coach to get in the gym and work out with me no matter what. That will act as a separator. I think if you're committed to doing that and willing to give things up in order to do it, you have a chance to be successful. And it's been proven. Like, I did it, Jermaine Buckner did it, Kyle Landry did it, Ben Krikke did it, Ahir Ugawak did it, the Plouffe sisters did it. People have done it. It's just going to be really tough. But that's part of the fun too, is can you push yourself into that area where it's so difficult that you almost feel off kilter all the time? And then once you get it done, of like, man, there's no more rewarding feeling at that level of I persisted and I did it.
Persisted and did it under the real world circumstances, not the fantasy circumstances I think that people have when they're doing this. But to see this many young Albertans have the opportunity to do it is really exciting. So great analysis. And you're listening to the Deep Dive here on Hoop City on your Sports Leader Sports 1440 with Paul Sir. Steve Sir is my guest. Okay, let's take a little bit of a jump here. And Josh, would you start with our Gimme Five? Because we're going to have some questions from Josh, Steve, and we're going to give our answers.
Okay.
All right. First question. The MVP race in the NBA. How can a player in SGA be so dominant, having his best season as the reigning MVP, yet he is still the runner-up in the MVP race? Is Jokic or SGA the MVP?
You go first, Steve.
Oh, thanks. I think it's an interesting reflection of where the NBA is at right now, where it just has to be debated no matter what.
Early in the season.
This early in the season when they've lost once. Then it gets into the definition of what an MVP is. Is it the guy that if you took off the team, they would just fall off a cliff? Or is it the best team in the league like Oklahoma City and it's the best player on the best team?
And you know, I would just interject right here.
Sure.
If it were scenario one, fall off a cliff, it's clearly Jokic. Because if SGA is out, Oklahoma City's still really good.
Yeah, they'll be competitive, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they would be in the thick of it, top 2 or 3 in the West without SGA. Oh, yeah. I'm getting some pushback on this one. SGA is fantastic, but they are deep and they are good. So I'll stand by mine. But the other litmus test is it would have to be SGA because best player on the best team with the numbers that he's putting up. It really is hair splitting.
Here's where it gets complicated is anytime a player wins multiple MVPs, there's this strange tidal wave that comes from the other direction of, well, you can't give him any more. Like this happened in the 80s with Larry Bird where he won 3 in a row and there was the Lakers and then there were the Pistons were coming and then all of a sudden there was, it's very similar with Jokic where he's had these.
Michael Jordan. I mean, most people feel Jordan should have had 8 MVPs.
Yeah, and they're probably right. But, you know, like you have the Charles Barkley season and the Michael Jordan season and who wins in the finals. You have the Karl Malone season and Michael Jordan beats him in the finals. It's like, who are we kidding who the best player in the league is? The best player. Like Karl Malone had a great season. That's awesome. What a good story. Who are you picking if the world comes to an end if you don't win this game? You're picking Michael Jordan. I don't think it's as clear now as it was then. SGA is amazing. So is Jokic. That's where it gets interesting to actually follow this season and not overreact to a week or 2 weeks of seeing what kind of body of work they put together. Their stats are going to be incredible because they're both incredible players. I'd love to see the best player on the best team get MVP because he's also Canadian. So I'm a little bit biased there. And I'd also love to see them play in the playoffs because someone will be awarded it and then they'll play and you'll have some kind of logical resolution.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be fun.
Absolutely. So you want SGA, I'd go with Jokic. So that's a good starting point. Let's go to number 2.
I like it.
Number 2, the Final Four in Las Vegas for the NBA Cup is set. We have the OKC and the Spurs on one side. We have the Knicks and the Magic on the eastern side. Players and coaches.
Who do you think's favored, Josh?
Oh man, that's a good
that's
question.
A tough one, huh?
That is a good question.
Yeah, I thought
OKC by 18.5 probably is the line. Players and coaches, well, mixed in their degree of acceptance, like it for a variety of reasons, the NBA Cup. Prize money being the biggest for the players. Do you like it? And do you think it should continue to be a part of the season?
Do you want to go first?
I'll go first on that one. I'm not a huge fan, but number one, I found the players' reaction to the courts to be one of the most interesting aspects of it, because the NBA, who never misses a trick and finds new ways to try to make the game fascinating by being somewhat outrageous, certainly have done so with the court designs that they've come up with. A lot of players have been complaining about that because the courts are very distracted because of the colors. It's an interesting experiment. Whether or not it should be a permanent part of it, I think it will be. And I think it's already taking root. And one of the responses from the players that I took the most from and doing a little bit of prep on it is players like the prize money. So they want to fight for it. So if it makes the season a little more interesting, I don't see any harm. I don't think it has the emotional impact that the series that the NHL had last year, for instance, where it just drained the pros. This doesn't have that kind of impact. It's a couple more games through the course of the season. So I think overall it's fine. I don't think one way or the other it's a big deal. I don't think the winner has anything to get overly excited about, except to see the checks put into their bank account. But yeah, it makes it a little more interesting, and it certainly gives us some talking points.
I'm not all that interested in it. Just like to zag a little bit on what you said, kind of feel like you're forced to be interested in it. It's on.
Yeah.
I think most of the courts are hideous.
They are.
Like the red is crazy, but I don't know if anyone's ever going to look at a resume, like when something flashes up and be like, oh man, he won the 2023 NBA Cup. Like no one's going to care. I just don't think that that's going to be a thing. Like I think it was the Lakers that won the Cup 2 years ago. Does anybody care?
Not a bit.
No. So
not a bit.
And I don't know. I mean, like this year it'd be fun, like if Wemby plays, like to have, OKC, the Spurs. Okay, there's some kind of thing there. You can see they're committed to the Cup idea, which I think is right, because if you go to any other country and they have their cups in their countries,
that's a great reference point.
Separate of your league, and it does matter. Like even though you are playing the same teams, like when I played 5-on-5 in Europe, you'd have your league games, and then you'd have breaks during parts of your league games to play cup games, and it would be at odd times, and it would be against teams that are not set on your schedule, and maybe a team upset somebody in the cup. The NBA is so exposed to us that the Spurs are playing the Thunder again. Okay, cool, but there was something fun about playing in cup games, so you can tell they're committed to it. I think it's the right idea. Who doesn't want more money in their bank account? Like, I mean, that's pretty clear for NBA guys. Like, rich guys want more money, so it's going to be something that I think they're going to stick with, but I think it'll always come down to like, are the matchups interesting? Is it going to be fun to watch the Spurs play the Thunder in a cup style game? And I think there's the potential for that, but it'll always be, can they latch on to you of like, do you care?
Well, for me, I'm interested in that game because I like the Spurs a lot, and if Wemby plays, that's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, we're going to go to point number 3. I'm going to take this question, though, and I'm going to present it to you guys. 10 most hated players in the NBA. There was a recent poll. So I'm going to give you the 10 and then ask you, as we go along, agree or disagree with each one. And I want you to agree on 2 levels. Do they deserve to be in it? And if so, are they positioned properly in the scale here? Number 10, Dylan Brooks. Hateable or not? Does he deserve this?
Hateable. He could be higher up even.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's only 10. Caveat to though, winner. Like everywhere he's been at, they win. So
look what he's done in Phoenix.
That's what I'm saying. Phoenix was a graveyard last year. Now all of a sudden they're good.
And Dylan's the reason.
Yeah, totally.
Dylan is the reason. Okay. Number 9. For me, I agree he's hateable, but hateable in a lovable way. Like he's hateable, lovable for me. That's how I'm kind of measuring these guys. So Russell Westbrook.
I don't think there's anything to hate about. I think it's gotten too cool to dislike Russell Westbrook. Like why do people bag on him the way that they do? I know he takes shots at some bad times, and that becomes just what everybody latches onto. He won an MVP. He plays really hard. He's got great stats. He'll be a Hall of Famer. It's become too acceptable to dislike the guy.
He doesn't belong in the top 10 to me, but
Not
Josh,
even
what
close.
do you think?
I agree with you, Steve. Absolutely. I think it's become the norm to hate on Russell Westbrook, and then you watch him play, and you're like, come on, guys, like he's doing his best out
He'll
there.
leave the league and people will love him again. People hated Carmelo Anthony by the time he was done. They were bagging on him all the time when he was with the Rockets, or no, was he with the Thunder?
He was with the Thunder.
With the Thunder.
Yep.
And everyone was making fun of him. It was really like got to absurd levels. And then he retired, and all anybody wants to do is like, oh man, remember Melo's mid-range? It was so stupid how that swung.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it'll be the same with Westbrook. He'll leave, and then everyone will be like, man, he was different, and all these bad Instagram posts.
Yep.
And then remember everybody didn't like him?
Yep.
But I don't know. I think it's really unfair.
Okay, so because of time, we're going to go through there with yes or no for the rest of the way.
Okay.
I like Russell Westbrook. Joel Embiid,
Yes, crybaby.
Yes.
absolutely. Dwight Howard,
Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kobe,
Difficult to have that be yes and no. That's like almost like probably like a full 20-minute discussion.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really would be. But if you got to go yes or no.
Ball hog. But no. Hot take.
Not my not. I think
Yes or no. Time.
no, I don't think it's fair. No.
Okay. All right. Dennis Rodman.
Yes. Should be
Yes,
number
but in the
one.
most fun way possible.
Lovable, hateable, lovable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, but in the most fun way.
Now, here's just pure hateable. Bill Laimbeer. He should be number one for me.
Yeah,
in the
Bill
least
Laimbeer.
fun way.
Surprised that he's not. You can't tell the best Bill Laimbeer stories on air because it all has like the worst language. But there's a great Larry Bird story about Bill Laimbeer, about him playing at the All-Star game and him realizing that he'll play because Laimbeer didn't get nominated. There's a great story. People who are listening should Google that.
Absolutely. Here's one I'm really curious about. Kevin Durant at number 3.
Manib's out. I'm in.
I don't think that's fair. I think people don't like it because he's bounced around so much.
And the Golden State move. That's why people hate Kevin Durant.
he did the, if you can't beat him, join him thing.
Yep.
Nobody likes that, but I think that's unfair. No.
Draymond Green, number 2.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In a non-fun way.
Yeah. And
yeah,
the same
not
vein as
lovable,
Laimbeer.
no hateable, lovable there.
It's gotten up to the absurd.
Number 1, LeBron James.
No.
No, that's not fair.
I agree.
Not with it.
Now, here's my missing list. Chris Paul definitely deserves to be top 10 for me.
But I do think what happened recently definitely shows some shades of gray of that, of him being cut so unceremoniously from the Clippers in what's supposed to be his last season. So I think that swings a little bit.
Absolutely. James Harden.
I don't know how he's not on the list already.
Absolutely.
I don't know how
Top
he's not on the
5.
list. I don't think he's on the list.
Top 5. Grayson Allen.
The Duke bully.
Dude, Grayson Allen and Christian Leitner.
I was going to say.
Yeah, there should be
And
like this
JJ
Duke,
Redick.
Pat,
Those are
and
the three.
JJ Redick.
Yeah.
You got their threesome.
How a white guy from Duke didn't make this list is crazy.
That's
It's
unbelievable.
crazy.
You got to see the analytics on this one.
People are forgetting. Yeah.
Here's one that should be on the list just because of the guy was. There are all kinds of dirty players in the league, but this guy was just absolutely filthy. Bruce Bowen from the Spurs. Filthy. Filthy.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's probably. I mean, he's an honorable mention guy.
Honorable.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, honorable mention just because his role wasn't that big. Here's a guy, I mean, you need 20 people in the top 10. Ben Simmons, just because he's Ben Simmons and the nonsense the guy has been in the league. There's just
A lot of nonsense. More of a crybaby or anything than like
Oh,
actually hateable, or like it's more upsetting. Oh,
No
just
one's
take a
been-
3-pointer.
No one's been more active in their petition to be on this list than Ben Simmons himself.
he's been lobbying. he's been lobbying for this.
actively pursuing being
Absolutely.
nominated. Yeah,
John Morant, I think he makes a strong case to be in here.
he's done the same. It's like let me see how I can.
Let's go to a nightclub and I'll bring a
torpedo
gun.
my career
Let's
right now.
And then let's complain.
We haven't caused problems lately, guys.
Yeah.
Let's cause one.
Last one, mailman.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I
he
can
just-
totally see that.
Yeah, just a little bit. So
There's only one other honorable mention I have for you. Matt Barnes. I don't think anyone ever liked Matt Barnes.
yeah, Matt Barnes was a
He's a piece of work.
Yeah, he was something.
He's a great podcaster.
Great podcaster.
Super good podcaster.
Yeah.
I'm
enjoy the
surprised.
listen.
I would throw out there, not because I don't like him as a player at all, but like because of what happened when he kind of made it more mainstream in the NBA is Ginobili with flopping.
Yeah.
Like how that was kind of really the first foyer for the NBA of like a guy who was like.
But that's like hating Beaver Cleaver. Like the guy had that innocent face, and that look about him, and and he really started the dramatic thing that has resulted. I think he gave acting lessons to LeBron in terms of how to flop. LeBron's taken it to a new level. I often question whether there's some AI editing in some of the flops that they show of LeBron, because if that was real, it's absurd what LeBron has done to try to get a call and to plead his case to the officials with the misses on the swings and flying out of bounds. The guy's 6'7" or 6'8", 260 pounds, and you'd swear to God he just got hit by a Mack truck.
I'd say I'm shocked that even though he's not a player, what he did last year, I think crosses all, like that. Nico Harrison as the GM of the Mavs isn't the most disliked basketball.
Oh yeah, that's a whole league. That's like the Academy Award.
Yeah,
this is minor league stuff compared to Nico.
Yeah, this is a lifetime achievement of that kind. Lifetime achievement
I'd like
award.
to thank the Academy
Yeah.
for my Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah, we're bringing Kirk Douglas up to accept the award.
Charlton Heston and Kirk Douglas are up there giving the award out.
Totally.
Say, Josh, can we run this through to the end and run some extra spots when we're done, or do we need to do a break right now?
We could go to break right now. We could just rifle through these last two really quick. I mean,
Sure.
like number 4, Steve, we gave our, Paul and I gave our opinions already. Thunder are 24-1. Steve Kerr gave his comments earlier in the week. Do you think the Thunder could be the best team of all time?
I'm like rooted and stuck in the 90s. The Bulls are always going to be the greatest team for me. I think the Thunder could go undefeated the rest of the season, and I'm still arguing that the Bulls are the best team. But I think they have a great shot to break the wins record, definitely.
All right. Number 5, the NCAA draft class is touted as one of the strongest ever. Cameron Boozer at Duke is the number 1 projected pick, with BYU's AJ Dybantsa at his heels. Who are some other highly touted prospects?
Peterson from Kansas, people talk about a lot. Ament from Tennessee, Wilson, North Carolina. You know what? It's really interesting because you had mentioned about this being a good draft class, Steve. But it's like you took Cooper Flagg and you planted him, and he took root, and all of these really good, high-impact players are going to be available this year in this really good draft class. Mm-hmm. I mean, Cameron Boozer could go into the league and just be outstanding right out of the gate, I believe, because his game is really, really versatile. And Dybantsa is also
Dybantsa's really good.
Dybantsa's really, really good. I wish we had more time, but we don't. But why do you think there's so many? Do you think we're just seeing another step in terms of the evolution of players becoming more versatile and more developed because of the training techniques and the hard work that they're putting in?
Possibly. It's interesting to see how these draft classes get hyped in the years leading up to their classes, because the class that was just drafted this year is actually very good.
They're fantastic.
Like there's 5 or 6 guys that are really, really good, and this is going to be followed by another draft that's supposed to be, again, projected really, really good. I don't know. It's interesting to follow, but it definitely adds intrigue to the league of good guys come in that could be all-stars quickly.
Absolutely. That music from Steve's brother Ben, my son Ben, it means we're coming to an end. Steve, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Every show at this time, we remember our son and Steve's brother Ben, who passed away far too soon, and that tragedy in our lives helps. The way we help to honor Ben is to remind everybody that, especially at the holiday season, be kind to others, think the best of others. Make sure you tell those who are important in your life that you love them, and value the time that you have with those special people in your lives. Want to thank everybody today. We have a guest in the studio who has a show coming up, and we're going to tell you more about that in one of our future shows. In fact, next week I want you on the show with me. and we'll talk about the show. In the meanwhile, everybody, happy holidays as you get ready for this very, very special time of year. Glad to hear that the weatherman is being kind to us after a real cruel blast right now. And speaking of a blast, this was a blast today, being able to talk hoops in this way. Really proud to be here on behalf of Hoop City. Josh Fenwick, thank you so much for this week. You're listening to the Sports Leader, Sports 1440. Merry Christmas, everybody.